So hi guys, welcome to my podcast, Ponderings from Palm Coast. I'm Mark Webb, and I want you to be aware, if you're listening to this audibly on one of the fine podcast locations we have, you can find more information at Facebook, Ponderings from Palm Coast at facebook.com, and also Ponderings from Palm Coast at gmail.com. If you want to leave a comment, I would love to hear from you, and I really appreciate the efforts to listen to this podcast audibly in your car or while you're working on chores, or hopefully you're not doing it at work. We know that would be an interesting thing. So anyway, thanks a lot. Now let's get back to my podcast today. Guys, today I have a special guest, someone who I want you to learn from and listen to, someone who I find is busy and volunteers and participates, and I just want her to share some of those great things she's doing. So Donna Stancel, thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you.
I've known you for a while. Mm-hmm. I've known your husband just as long. You both are very involved here in the Palm Coast community, and I applaud you guys for that. As you know, I am very driven to try to let you guys know to get active, to get off the couch, to participate. Whining without purpose is just a waste of time. So, Donna, I know you're involved, and you've been involved with the city, and you volunteered for a lot of committees and boards. Can you share with us what that's like? How did you get involved with that? How did you learn about it?
Well, I initially, when we started getting involved with the city, we decided to look into how we could get involved. And my husband has stepped forth and done a number of different things. And about a year and a half ago, I stepped forward and volunteered to be on the Citizens Residential Drainage Committee that was designed to look into things that we could recommend to homeowners with regards to flooding issues. And there were over 200 people who registered with the drainage department that had flooding issues, most of which the drainage department went out and investigated, took pictures, made recommendations to, and so on and so forth, which helped most of those houses to at least get some advice on what they could do to solve their problem. There were 29 homes that had water even at least encroaching the home or actually inside the home that we decided to prioritize. And we spent a good 4 months just investigating different options that we could often offer to them. And one of them was, initially was free dirt. The city had free dirt that they could sign up to get. But the problem with that was that they had to pick it up themselves. They had to deliver it themselves. They had to spread it themselves. So we got roundly criticized from some of the residents that they thought that was the only thing that we had come up with. And so, but there were other things. We talked to the Arbor Division, and the Arbor Division had a brochure that anybody could pick up, by the way, at City Hall, that recommends trees and shrubs that can be planted in areas that flood that would help soak up water. And so that's option number 2. Option number 3 was we spoke to a woman who is in charge of the Community Development Block Grant Program. And it turns out that anybody that has flooding, especially that's in their home, if they qualify financially, I think there's a maximum amount of annual income that somebody can take. But if they qualify for this, that block grant program would pay for
Now that's block grant?
Community Development Block Grant Program.
Okay.
And I think the lady's name is Gonzalez, that is in the city hall, that can help with that. But anyway, so if they decide to qualify a person for this block grant program, flooding issues are definitely part of their process that they can help with. The really interesting news is that if they qualify for getting at least the flooding issue taken care of, say for instance they've got a roof that's damaged, it would pay for the flooding issues and fixing the roof. Anything that makes the house more habitable. And the nice thing about these development block grant programs is that it is a lien that goes against the home for 10 years. As long as the resident lives in that home for 5 years at least, they don't have to make any payments on this lien. And for every year that they live in the home after 5 years, up to the 10-year point, they take 20% of the balance off of the loan, and still no payments. So at the end of 10 years, if you're still living in the home, it's free. You don't have to pay back any money, the lien is dropped, and you have had your home fixed for nothing.
So this committee that you learned about, applied for, which you can do on Palm Coast Connect. There are multiple committees right now that they're looking for volunteers. So you applied and you were selected by the city council. City council selected you.
We needed a minimum of 5 people, and only 5 of us stood up, so we all got elected.
And unfortunately, I've been to many city councils, and sometimes there aren't even 5 people there participating. Yeah. Now, how often does that committee meet?
Now we're meeting once a month, and we're in the same room with the city council.
So it's public?
Yes.
So you could find out when they're meeting, and there's other meetings that go on, like, and they're all public. They're all available for you to go in and watch. So if you're curious about these things, you could go in there and sit there and observe the meeting. So is that where you learned about the block grant and other things?
Yes, that's where we learned about the block grant program, because we were interviewing people from the development community, from the city, from every resource that we could think of. And one of the other ones that we came up with specifically for those 29 homes is that we had the Home Builders Association come in and talk, and then there was also a builder that was there. And unfortunately, they felt that if they took any action to help somebody out, if somehow that action failed, they owned that action and they're stuck with it. So they were unwilling to do anything. The one really great thing that came out of this was a fellow by the name of Dan Wilcox, who owns one of the biggest survey companies in Palm Coast. When he saw that we weren't getting any help, he stood up and volunteered to do a complete drainage survey on each one of those 29 homes for nothing. Wow. And that's between a $1,500 and a $2,500 value that he just donated to those homes. And what we've done over as those particular surveys were completed and dribbled into our committee, we invited the homeowners to come face us. And one of our committee members is an actual builder. And he would go over those drawings that Dan Wilcox's company did and explain to them exactly what all the little issues were, whether there was high spots here, low spots there. There was little squiggly
neighbor elevation issues,
little squiggly arrows on the drawings that would show how the drainage needs to flow.
Right.
So that if they took that drawing to, say, for instance, the Community Development Group or a landscape company, they would be able to take that and know exactly how whoever they hire to help them, what they need to do in terms of getting that water to drain either to the front or the back of the house in order to comply.
Right. So how did you become aware, how did the committee become aware of these 25 problem homes, did they initiate a case with the city?
Yes, they did.
And then the city then worked on it on their own and informed you guys?
Well, there was, I believe this was before my time on it, but I believe that what they did was they put out a notice that if you have flooding issues that are the result of, say, for instance, a hurricane or a heavy rain, like for instance, last year we had like 20 inches of rain in
Right.
3 weeks.
Yeah, that would have been Milton for those of us
Yeah.
that remember.
So, which was 20 inches of rain followed by Milton.
Yeah, unbelievable.
So anyway, they asked for people to contact the drainage department and actually get on their lists so that the drainage department can go out to each individual home. And like I said earlier, they could make suggestions for people that they could help themselves with. But the 29 homes that we selected were those with the worst problems. Either right up to the door or right up to the pool, wherever it is, or getting into the house.
Wow. So it feels like parts of the city administration seem to be proactive and
They were.
were trying to be aware of the challenges the cities are having, which is a benefit
Yes.
to being on a committee or board. And that's an amazing. And how long do you stay on a board once you're selected?
Well, the board was designed to be 4 years, but we're not going to make it to 4 years. We were given absolutely no resources to work with in terms of helping people, or no funds, no direction at all. But we were fortunate enough to have Lynn Stevens from the drainage department, who was assigned to help direct our
Sure.
investigation, and she was the person who set up all the meetings with all over 200 houses and narrow it down to the most important ones. But she's been instrumental in getting speakers in for us. If we bring up a topic that we'd like to cover, she finds somebody for them and gets them to come in and talk to us. And so Lynn Stevens should receive a lot of credit for the work she's done.
Would you do it again? Do you like it? Do you feel like you gained knowledge or helped
Well, I know a lot
citizens?
more about drainage now than I did before, that's for certain. But our committee, I think we're going to be winding down before the 4-year mark, because
Sure.
now that we've given those 29 homes their surveys and had the surveys explain to those residents about what their elevation issues are and where the
Right.
water should be flowing, there's not much left for us to do. On the other hand, I was out for a couple of months with surgery recovery, and while I was out, they had completed handing out the surveys to the last of the 29 people, but they wanted to continue talking to code enforcement people about how things could be reported when there's somebody who has a higher elevation than your house and is flooding onto your property.
Right.
And so that is in fact now a code enforcement problem, and they want us to work with code enforcement, at least for a while, to help them determine how they could enforce that code.
So if I remember correctly, and trust me, my memory is not something you should rely on, the board or the committee that was created that you got on was directly related to flooding that had happened from multiple sources, including there was a discovery that new infill lots, and if you don't know what that is, that's when you have a vacant lot around a subdivision, which we all drive by and see, were getting cleared for new homes to go in. And the builders were filling the lot and elevating the house higher than the homes around
In many
it.
cases, 4 feet higher.
Insane. Some of them were. And if you're a new builder, if you're a new buyer and you know that you may be in a wet area, you can't fault them. And there wasn't any real restriction or guidance on doing that. And so
Subsequent to that, there was a new, code that the city put in that restricted the elevation on any new home infill to what?
12
22 inches
22 inches.
above the crown of the road, is that correct?
Right.
So, yeah, so anyway, now there's at least that restriction. And
How does that compare to what was before it?
there was no
There was
elevation.
no, there was no code enforcement.
They had
But-
a minimum,
Go
but they
ahead.
didn't have a maximum.
Right. And so what I'm trying to point out is the value or the efforts that volunteer citizens like you out there, get them on a board, get involved, participate. What, 5 hours a month out of your time to go
More
in?
like 2.
More like 2 hours. But there were improvements made. I know that also the city became a lot more aggressive in sharing the knowledge of the vacuum trucks that were available to come for free and help you vacuum out
Culverts.
the culverts underneath your driveways, which was something nobody really even
Right.
knew about until the culvert failed, you needed a new driveway, and $5,000 later,
Well,
people were,
The technology that they have now is they actually can send a team out to begin with that can run a camera into your culvert to see if you have blockage. If
Sure.
you do, then they've got this vacuum truck that can come back on a schedule, of course, and then try to clean out the culvert without having the resident having to buy new driveway and have a new culvert put in. If they could save the culvert by vacuuming it out, that's what they're trying to do.
exactly. And all the citizens have to do is put in a case to request it. And I hear,
The list is long.
but they do get out there and they can work on it. So that's just one of the committee boards, and I have no idea what the difference between a board and a committee, so I lump it all together. I know recently you were picked as an alternate for this new upcoming charter review. Do you even know what you volunteered for?
Well, the way I understand it is that our charter was written and somewhat borrowed from other cities when the city was created in the late 90s, and it's never been updated. And so what we need to do is go through it and find things like, there's been this big discussion about appointing council members when somebody abandons their seat and what procedures they need to do. Make it more clear.
That would be helpful.
Yeah, make it more clear so that there's no loopholes that people can jump through. And so that's the committee that I'm on. I have, as an alternate, I do not have any voting
No,
capabilities, but I am.
and it's open to the public, and I highly
It is.
recommend finding out have they
We
even
haven't
picked-
received any
you haven't
notification when it's
of
gonna
when
be
it's
yet.
going to start yet.
But you probably can find it out on Palm Coast Connect, or at least on the website. They do advertise these things online, that when meetings are supposed to be held, they put that out there. With the Drainage Committee, we haven't had hardly any public participation, except for the residents that we called in to get their surveys.
Right.
But I suspect that the Charter Review Committee is probably going to draw a crowd.
I would hope. But have you been explained the process on how this review, up to the point where any changes have to be on a ballot and voted on by the citizens?
We have not been given any direction
of
at
that.
this point. We just got appointed a couple of weeks ago.
Right. And congratulations, by the
Oh,
way.
thank you.
I think it was a last minute decision for the selection process was driven by our charter. I actually questioned the process and was directed to the guidelines within the city charter, and it does say that each city council member, including the mayor, that's 5, gets to select someone of their choice to be on that review. There was never any mention of alternates. that was something they decided, which I
Yeah,
think
right.
was a good idea
do.
to have that, because this is a long process to try to get the decisions or the recommendations on the next November ballot. Our mayor would like to see it wait until the 2028 general election, but we'll see how that is. But it's an exciting opportunity to participate in the city. And that's really why I want to applaud you for taking those steps to be involved. And I know your husband is done with that as well. On a second, I do not want to be remiss in letting you guys know about another project that Donna's involved with, and I know she's passionate with. Tell us about that.
Well, there's a couple of them actually. I have a podcast that I am developing. It's relatively new. It's going to be both on YouTube and Spotify and that sort of thing. But it's called Senior Life Discovery, and the tagline is "Living Your Best Life as a Senior." And what I'm going to be doing is I've got a list of topics that I want to talk about that's like yay long. And basically I'm going to be looking for experts in various topics that I can interview that would benefit seniors and give them information for living a better life. For instance, the first and only episode that I have posted right now is the pros and cons of reverse mortgages.
Oh, wow.
And having interviewed this gentleman, and he can help people nationwide with this program, I was surprised because I had a dim view of reverse mortgages myself before, and a lot of people think that they're scams. But having spoken to this person who does this for a living, he's based out of St. Louis, but I asked him if he could do business any place in the country. He goes, with the advent of the internet and DocuSign, he says you can do anything any place in the country now. But I was so impressed with the way he explained how a reverse mortgage could work. Had we not recently bought our home and not have a lot of equity in it, I would have done it in a heartbeat. But I've got, in terms of other topics, I want to cover travel. I want to cover finance for seniors. Hobbies, getting involved in your community, and all sorts of topics that I want to interview people. So if anybody knows an expert that has a thing to say that I could interview about any topics that might make a senior's life better, please reach out to me. I'd be happy to talk to somebody.
How can people reach out to you?
Let's see, Donna M. Lamb, Lamb, at msn.com. That's my personal email address. And hopefully I won't get a bunch of people who have snarky remarks for me. But anyway, I'm trying to do something that will help seniors.
Sure. Now, do you, is that the part of your luncheon that you?
No, that's a whole
That's a whole different thing.
Right. When we decided to when we came down to Palm Coast, we were looking for a way to meet other people.
Now, I didn't mean to get you sidetracked from your podcasts and seniors, because, Donna, it's a huge environment. I run into people all the time in our Blue Forum and others that are fearful of scams.
Right.
And we know that there's a group here locally, Seniors Against Scammers or whatever. Maybe you can reach out to that, because it's happening all the time.
Right.
And people get fake emails or phone calls. Or I talked to a lady maybe a month ago that said that somebody had called to tell her her grandson was in the hospital, had been in a terrible accident. And she said, I have several grandsons, which one? And he named whoever it was. And she let him go on for a little while about needing money and all that. And then she went to say, well, that's a miracle, because he passed away 10 years ago and the name was still on a file. And of course there was the click. But she was aware. She was educated. Somebody had showed her. So I applaud you
Oh,
for
thank
that and educating and like myself in this podcast. I cover whatever it is that we think we need, like in this example right here of trying to get information out. It's easy to get distracted by the political nature of things, which for most of us doesn't really reach out and touch us at this point. But a scammer or a tragic health event that could happen where you need to possibly do a reverse mortgage to have monthly money to survive on. I was just reading the other day that 66% of all bankruptcies in the United States are due to medical events. I don't know if you're aware of it, but Biden passed a law or an EO saying that medical issues could not be used on your credit filing because they were of no control to you. You know, you get cancer or you get in an accident or you have something terrible. Guess who just rescinded that?
Our current president.
The current administration has now revised that based on the credit bureaus feeling that it doesn't matter what caused your debt, you're a risk. And so in our community, here in Palm Coast and in our age community, and talking with people, that is the biggest, and that would be a great subject for you in your podcast, is understanding and being able to aware of the risk of medical. Because I can tell you in my own world, that is the biggest fear I have, is having a terminal or a long-term health issue that would take every penny that I've saved and worked for my whole life. So talk to me about the luncheon. I think
Yes. Well, when we first came down here, we didn't know anything about anybody around us. We had accidentally run into a neighbor just down the street, and when our house was still being built, we were still in St. Louis, and they were sending us pictures regularly of our progress on our build, which was
neighbor
really nice.
support.
Yes.
I love it.
So anyway, I got on Facebook and was looking around trying to find out if there was a seniors group, any place where we could go meet other seniors. And we got involved with another one. I won't mention the name, but we didn't care for that particular one. So after we left that one, we decided to start our own. We call it Seniors Getting Together. We have a website called seniorsgettingtogether.org. And anybody can sign up that's 55 years or older.
Damn,
we
missed it.
Let me guess, you're not?
I don't remember.
But anyway, we have a luncheon. Currently, we're meeting at Bob Evans over here in Palm Coast on the second and fourth Friday of every month. And it's a luncheon. Everybody has to pay for their own lunch in order for us to have the space for free.
And what time is that?
At 11:30 at
11:30.
Bob Evans. Come one, come all. We welcome any and all new members. We've got over 200 members on our mailing list right now. Thank goodness they don't all show up at once. But I don't know where we'd put them. But anyway, we, from time to time, will have what we call excursions. We have gone to play miniature golf. We've gone to concerts. We've gone to ball games. We have gone to the Silver Springs Glass Bottom boat ride, and just all kinds of stuff. And we've even driven over to Sanford to go to the German restaurant, just to have someplace different to go. And last week we went to the Leitner Museum in St. Augustine.
Right.
And
Wow.
we did the tour there. And then there was this terrific cafe in the basement, in what used to be the pool area. They've got a cafe down there, and the food was delicious. And so we had a really nice excursion, not this past Friday, but the Friday before. And we're always looking for new ideas.
That is such an important need. To get out and enjoy those things. My wife and I, we do she says it's a go out and eat at a nice place, but I always take her to a thrift store that I found, whether it be in Sanford, or I guess they're now called antique malls. Have you heard of these things where there's 50 booths in them, and she'll be in there for 5 hours, and I'm pleading with the owner, you need a husband's chairs over here so that I can sit while she goes, and but it's air conditioned, it's out. There's just all of this stuff that's out there to get active and to be involved with that. Now, how long have you been doing that luncheon?
I would say we've been going over 3 years now.
3 years? Mm-hmm. It's amazing.
And people come and go, you know.
Oh, yeah.
We've got snowbirds. I know this one lady who lives in Vermont during the summertime, and she comes back every October, and she leaves around April and goes back. And they come to some of our luncheons, and then, they'll lay off for a while. But it's nice to have these people. We send out an email a week, like the week before the luncheon is occurring, to anybody that's on our list. So everybody gets notified. And if they can fit it into their schedule, we're glad to have them.
And you do that all on your own?
Yeah. And our group has no membership fees.
Sure.
There is no dues. You just have to buy a lunch if you come.
That, again, what you're hearing today is one person's effort, and it's not full-time all the time. Being able to step up and participate, especially with the city, which I applaud you for taking the time to sign up and put yourself out there. And it's a challenge. I mean, here in the city council, it is a very niche, cliquey group, but we need to get diversity. We need to get younger people and women and men of color to start to participate and step up and be seen and be heard, basically, about all those things. Because I believe, like you were just pointing out with your stormwater efforts, it is valuable. You may not think it is, but there are people that have safer homes due to this new guideline of high elevation than if nothing had been done.
People need to show up at the city council meetings, learn what's going on in our city, figure out where you think that you can add your expertise or at least your opinion about, volunteer for committees when they're announced, show up, even come just as public participant to these committees so that they actually get the word out to people that might be of interest.
Absolutely. I try to do that. I find myself one of 3 or 4 people, and sometimes it's just me and your husband sitting there at the tail end, which, by the way, the best part of that city council meeting is the last 10 minutes when they're up there sharing things and talking about things that they're trying to address through the Sunshine Law. And you can learn a lot about what's happening beyond the agenda. Mm-hmm. Donna, what else going on? What are you doing? What's happening? I know we had talked about running for office. I get asked all the time, and unfortunately, a 4-year commitment's not within my time frame here due to personal reasons, and but we're looking for candidates.
Well, my husband ran for city council in the last general election.
He did.
And lost by a mere 2 votes. And that was it was 2 votes at the end of the election, and it was 2 votes 2 days later after the recall, or the recount, that is. And but he got to know a lot of people who were running against him, and some of them he found to have very similar outlook on things. And so that's interesting. I'm not particularly interested in running for any kind of office because I've got a lot of other things on my plate right now.
You are a pretty busy lady.
And
I can see that.
I just, at this stage of my life, I don't think I want a full-time job.
But you're participating.
Yes.
And that's really the takeaway. Whether you're doing your podcast or whether I'm doing the podcast or going to meetings or joining the boards. You're participating. It is your city. It is your money. And I say it all the time, and I say this consistently. And I'm a big believer that our city, as in most cities this size, there's a reason why it's bipartisan. There's a reason why we need to understand the goals and objectives of building our city and making it better and safer. Have nothing to do with politics, or shouldn't have anything to do with politics, but the services of the citizens that we have and respect. We were just talking about the Southern Rec Center, and it was designed toward adults. Or we have the splash pad, which I was hearing the other day was as busy as it's ever been with the weather it is. And I use the aquatic center all the time, and I see that as an amenity that isn't designed or needed to be a money-making event like our city parks and our golf courses. But you can sit here and talk about these issues, or you can get involved, right?
Right. And the one thing that I would like to see, and we have worked with other people in the area, we really, really need to encourage the youth of this city to get involved with this city, because us older folks are going to be stepping away in the future. And we need to have younger folks who can step up when the time comes so that they can take over this city and run it with their interests too, not just the older folks' ideas. And it doesn't, because the city council and a lot of these committees are all bipartisan committees. It doesn't matter what political persuasion you have. Get involved. Know your town. If you don't get involved, you don't have the right to whine about things.
That's the way I raised my kids.
Yeah.
You have a voice, as I know your husband, myself, being military veterans and serving our country all around the world. Our purpose was to maintain that freedom for you to decide, and for you to have a vote, and for you to be able to participate. And so, Donna, thank you so much.
Oh, thanks for having me.
I really appreciate it. I applaud everything that you're doing. I will be more than happy to push that podcast when I become a senior and I qualify for that stuff.
Well, there are topics you might like anyway.
Hey, I tell you what, or can bring some of those. Like you, I'm always trying to bring people in that can speak. I've had your husband right here talking about code enforcement, which is something that impacts everybody, as we've been hearing almost on a daily basis, the paint colors and parking vehicles and all of those things.
Chickens, yeah.
And chickens. So thanks again.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
You're all awesome, and thanks again for everything you're doing. So guys, I want to thank you for stopping by. Remember to like and subscribe, and please leave a comment. Let us know what's going on. If you have ideas or something here in the city or even the county or the state that you're interested in, you want more information, I will be glad to hear and respond. And with that, thanks for coming by. Stay safe.